Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And whether you're watching on Torah Anytime or wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts, we're so excited to have you along. This episode is sponsored in honor of Dovid and Rona Holzer by their children with Hakaras Hatov for everything they do. Wow, what more could parents ask than to have their children sponsor an episode of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show, to know that there are thousands and thousands of people who are receiving inspiration and a great time in their honor. Wow, I think everybody should tell their children what the Holzer kids did and just take that into account. And we have a special treat for you, a special Hanukkah treat. We spoke about Hanukkah last podcast. We're going to talk about something going back to our regular topics. But we have a special treat for you because I had, as you know, Lenny Solomon, the Shlachrock master, on the show. And first of all, I got a free T-shirt out of it. So already it's worthwhile. Look at this, my Shlachrock T-shirt. Yeah? Eat your heart out. But not only that, Lenny was so inspired by his time on the show that he actually wrote us a theme song for the Rabbi Orlofsky Show, and we're going to show it to you right now.
When I was on the Rabbi Orlofsky Show, we talked about a jingle, and this came to me. So here it is, the new Rabbi Orlofsky Show jingle. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show, Torah and simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show, knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Hit it. Take it, baby, take it. Oh yeah, what you do for me? Oh, I'm feeling it. No. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show, Torah and simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
Okay, Ari Goldwag, you're in trouble now. Let's see what you're gonna do. Anyway, this is opening up a whole new world here. You can go to RabbiOrlofsky.com/music, where you can download the song, get the karaoke track if you want to sing this at your next simcha or gathering. You can get the lyrics, the chords, and the sheet music. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Anyway. I love it. Anyway, Lenny, mwah, wherever you are, we love you. This is, by the way, any of the other musical guests, this is a great way to get invited back. All right. Enough of that. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm going to go home and watch this again. By the way, when I was in America, full disclosure, the last episodes have been pre-recorded because I was in America. I got an email from an 11-year-old girl named Frida in Bergenfield, New Jersey, who asked if I would give her a shout out. She's a loyal fan, 11 years old. And it was so interesting. You know, we had a podcast that was sponsored recently by someone whose father was going for treatments for Yenamachla. We've had grandparents who have written in, and but I think except for the kid who thought I was Uncle Moshe, I really think that 11 years old is so far. If there's anybody else out there who's younger than that, who's an avid listener, because that's really more or less my age group. So I'm shooting for. So feel free to give us a shout out. So thank you, everybody out there who's listening, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. I'm sorry. This is a momentous occasion in my life. Getting married was nice too, but I never had anybody write me a theme song. I mean, when I was in NCSY, there was a floating laboratory in space that had lost orbit and was going to come crashing down onto Earth. They didn't know where. And it was my first year as director of Long Island NCSY. And my kids composed a song for me. It went like this. Skylab, 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 please don't fall on me. Please don't fall on me. Fall on Orlofsky. It's not exactly the same. I don't know. First of all, it wasn't an original tune. Anyway, okay, down to business. This is actually part 4 of our seminary series. I have to tell you, I found the response absolutely fascinating. One person wrote in and said, I don't know why you're even discussing this. Everyone knows you go to seminary because it's good for shidduchim. Okay. In that case, and I mentioned this already, in that case, you have a very easy decision. Just go to the place that's going to be best for your shidduchim and don't worry about anything. Yeah. Other people were actually pleasantly surprised that somebody was dealing with the issue so straightforwardly, which is frankly the only way I know how. And they have received suggestions for other issues in society that they would like me to address, which I definitely will. It's amazing. I mean, we've only been doing this for a little over a year, and there's so much to talk about. And as you can tell, once I get going on a particular topic that piques my interest, it may never end. Anyway, if you are interested in this topic, I suggest that you go and listen to the first 3 parts about choosing a seminary. Because now I'm going to go into a completely different issue. I don't know if this affects the seminary girls as much, because as you'll recall, this really began with a seminary girl who asked me to discuss this topic so they could decide how to choose a seminary. And I have studiously avoided mentioning seminaries by name. I've tried to speak in very general terms because I don't at present time work in any seminaries. And I have spoken and had experience with any number of them. But it's not my place to give an advertisement for any particular place. Like I say, I can, and like I say, there's been such an increase in them that I don't even know all of them right now. So I'm not even being coy, which is not one of my strong points. And like I told you, I've had people over my house and I've asked them to be magdir. What's the difference between this one? What's the difference between that one? And people can't always do it. So imagine what somebody at home trying to decide on a school is going through. That being the case, I want to deal with an issue now that's perhaps more relevant to the parents than it is to the girls, although it may be an issue for the girls as well. And that's the following. I was listening to these financial planners who had a radio show. I happened to be in America. I had the radio. And it was a financial planning show. And the husband said like this, my wife is interested in getting a master's degree in whatever the field is. And they said to him, how much will that degree cost? And they worked out how much it was going to come out to, etc. And he says, what does she do now? And how much more money will she make with this degree? And he said to him, it's a bad investment. Now, if you have unlimited funds and you're wealthy, which is not from what you're telling me, but if you have unlimited funds and you could just spend money on whatever you want, and you want to do this because it'll give you COVID, you're doing it because it'll make you feel better, whatever it is, that's your own business. But if you're asking me from a financial position, it doesn't make any sense to get this degree. There are people who go to top universities and they spend 4 years to get a degree in a particular field that they'll never make their money back in. From an investment point of view, that's a bad investment. It's a bad investment. Now, seminaries cost a lot of money. I was actually thinking of doing some research for this and, looking up what each seminary charges and then giving you a range. But you don't need me for that. You can do it for yourself. The answer is a lot of money. Is that how much it costs for a year of study in Israel? The answer is no. How do I know? I used to teach in seminaries. Now I had a special arrangement, but I would know when I would speak. Every now and then I would speak in a particular seminary. I know people who teach in seminaries. They don't pay the teachers a lot of money. Yeah? Which means that if you sit down with paper and pencil and figure out what it would actually cost to run a seminary, divided by the amount of girls who are coming, the amount of money you would have to pay does not bear any relationship to the amount of money that they're charging. Now, full disclosure, I've been approached a number of times by people asking me to start a seminary. I told you in an earlier podcast that nobody would come if I did it the way I wanted, but they wanted me to run a more standard seminary, the model that everybody knows. They're hoping that my name and reputation would pull in people. And they wanted me to open it as an investment for them. They would front the money, they would pay me a nice salary, and it was to produce a profit. I said, where is the need that I'm filling? Which clientele is not being serviced by the seminaries that now exist? And the answer was no. It's just that you could also get a piece of the action. There's a X number of girls, and the number is growing, and you could make money off of this. Now, obviously, if I was interested in making money, I wouldn't be doing a free podcast, would I? No. I'd figure out some way to monetize this sucker, but I don't know how, and I don't really care because I have dedicated my life to chinuch. My father had a very successful business I could have gone into, and I didn't. Stupid. But instead, I decided to dedicate my life to Klal Yisrael and Habatzis Torah. So to open up an institution for that purpose, okay. Boys need to learn in yeshiva. That's clear, right? It's a mitzvah. They have to learn, and it's considered essential. Fine. Whether every boy should go to yeshiva or not, we touched upon that. Maybe we'll speak about it more in a future podcast. But okay, you understand that a boy needs to go, and he's going to sit and he's going to learn long term, even short term. But he needs a yeshiva to go to. Most yeshivas, you can see, have fundraisers. Maybe they make a dinner. Maybe they make a parlor meeting. Maybe they make a breakfast. Maybe they send out a mailing. They need to raise money because they're not making enough money from the tuition to cover their costs. I had wanted to open a yeshiva. I think that there is a need for the yeshiva that I want. And I was just terrified of the fundraising. I've worked for yeshivas where I did not get paid. And it's very rough. And I had other people who were in worse situations than me, were running around to gemachim and just to be able to try to pay their rent, pay their bills. It's a terrible situation. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that I can't pay somebody the money. And I'm a terrible fundraiser. Parenthetically, if there's anybody out there with a lot of money who thinks that I should open a yeshiva and would like to, underwrite the cost, RabbiOrlofsky.com. You know how to get a hold of me. Yeah, and just email me. I'll call you. But if we open up a yeshiva, I bet you can get Lenny to write us a theme song. How about that? But because there's a need. I have a need of what I want to be able to do in a yeshiva. I understand. But in a seminary, what's not being covered? So now you take a family, right? Now, there are always exceptions, but for the most part, and I'm generalizing here because there are two types of people, those who generalize and those who don't. I'm generalizing. But most of these seminaries don't give scholarships because, as I mentioned, they don't make fundraisers. They usually produce a profit if they're run well. And so, a family decides that they want to send their daughter to seminary, maybe like this one person wrote me because it's considered essential for shidduchim, maybe because they feel like their daughter really needs a year in Israel learning in seminary for some of the reasons we discussed. And the financial burden is tremendous. Now, this is really for another podcast and another discussion. I'm just going to raise it now to put it into context. Over the past 20 years, I have met over a dozen families who told me, we'd like to have more children, but we can't afford the tuition. Do you understand that if we produce a chinuch system that discourages Jews from having children, there's something seriously wrong with that? There's something wrong with the system. But I've spoken to certain people from seminaries, sometimes on behalf of young ladies, and they said to me, "B'pem ole, listen, you're in seminary is it's not a necessity. Girls would gain from it. It's not a necessity. They don't have to. It's not like a boy who has to sit in yeshiva. So if they can't afford it, they can't afford it. There's plenty of people who can, and there are plenty of people who will go through economic hardship in order to be able to pay for that year in seminary." Now, here's the question, because we talked about why a person should go and learn in seminary, and whatever those reasons are, you now have to ask yourself, like this financial planner said about the person who was going to go for a master's degree, is it worth the investment of money? That's the question that you have to ask yourself, because there's a lot of money. If you have a disposable income, you can afford it. How much are you going to sacrifice for that? Now, could be that there are young ladies who've been able to save up money. They pay for it themselves. It's going to be quite difficult, because a lot of girls that I've met don't even understand the concept of earning their own money. When I was growing up, every girl who could babysat. Sometimes they were waitress for caterers. They did things where they could produce money, because parents would say, "Listen, I don't have the money for you. If you want to go out and buy a new outfit or this and next thing, you have to raise the money for that." I don't meet many girls like that today. In fact, from what my children tell me, it's very hard to find babysitters. Those girls, I should babysit. Which in general, I don't know how good that is when you're setting a pattern later on in life. I had girls in seminary who told me they wanted to marry boys in learning. And I said, "Can you handle the financial burden?" And he says, "Well, yeah, I think I'll be able to." Yeah. I said, "Okay, your parents are giving you money now, right, to spend in Israel. Do you save that money up, or do you go out and get a facial? Do you go and buy yourself an outfit? Do you go out to eat? Because if you really want to be moist and nefesh for learning Torah, why are you living this lifestyle? That's money that could go to things like, food, electricity, certain essential things in your life. Are you looking forward to that? Are you trying to build something up that you'll be able to draw upon later, or you get money right now and you spend it on yourself, on things that we could argue are not essential. I don't know. I don't know what shidduchim are like today. Maybe, getting a facial every week and getting the latest shoes or whitening your teeth or whatever it is. One of my daughters is going through a teeth whitening process right now. And she was drinking her coffee with a straw. That she didn't stain teeth. I was talking once to a group of girls, about dating, and I said, you go out to a lounge and you order a Diet Coke, and they all looked at me and said, no, Diet Sprite. Diet Coke could stain your teeth. Okay, so maybe those things are essential. I don't know. I can't say. Yeah. And maybe this is just a straight investment, right? There are certain people who feel like they have to get a college degree. Few and far between are the people I've met who feel like they need a college education. In the words of the Wizard of Oz, Scarecrow, there are people with no more brains than you, but they have something you don't have, a college degree. And so from the University of Oz, I present you with a college degree, and he goes, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'm a genius. And as my father Moshe used to say, if you're an idiot, you'll be an idiot with a college degree. So there are some people who just want to get the piece of paper, in which case I say, find the fastest way to get that piece of paper, pay somebody money, and let them just hand it to you, whatever it is. If you want to get an education, it's a whole different thing. But many people do not go to college to get an education. They go to college to avoid getting an education. So if you have disposable income and you decide, listen, I'm on my soapbox already, so I'll come back to this. Yeah. There's this idea in America. I don't know if it applies to other places around the world, but I've seen this in America. And couples get married, and they come to Israel to learn for a year, maybe 2 years. I'm generalizing. There are exceptions. They get themselves an apartment, Malot Daphne, Azia Bira, Ramat Eshkol, wherever, and they have to pay money to fix up the apartment. And the wife spends a lot of time walking up and down Paran, looking for a job, and the husband come home from yeshiva early so they can go out to dinner or spend time together, etc. I'm generalizing because I know there are certain couples who are mamish. They come in, they're very serious about it. But for a lot of people, that first year learning Israel is like a honeymoon year. Yeah, and now, if you got the money and you want to give your kids a year of time together to build their marriage and Israel, beautiful, beautiful. But how many people are willing to live a life of sacrifice? Rabbi Orlofsky said, I know people are willing to be Moshe Nefesh for Torah. If you buy them an apartment, you buy them a car, you support them, So he says, so what's the Mesiras Nefesh? They're willing to get up every morning and go to yeshiva? I said this once to a group of guys in Kolo, and they said, not every morning, but certainly many mornings. So, is it, I don't know, is it worth the investment? So what if you don't support him? And so he said, I had friends who used to learn by candlelight because they couldn't afford to turn on the electricity. He says, when I was in yeshiva, I had friends who only ate pasta because they couldn't afford anything else. And he said, I'm talking in Cleveland, Ohio, when I was in Telz, not in Yerushalayim. And I said to the girls, I said, if you have a lot of money or your parents have a lot of money and they're willing to spend it to support you, gewaldig. But if not, are you prepared to rough it? You know, get your shetels from the gemach, shetel gemach, Save the cans from the tomato paste to be able to boil your egg. Usher Rubenstein, that's how the Rosh Yeshiva Torah Simcha. He says there were times when I was learning in Kollel, I didn't have anybody supporting me. I used to come home, and what me and my wife had for lunch was shar bitochen. So we sat down and we learned. So we had chavas levavos. We couldn't afford any food. So as you go through life, you have to decide, if I have disposable income and I can do whatever I want, fine. If everyone's going to seminary and therefore I don't care what my parents have to do, they have to send me to seminary. Want to hear a horrible story? Sure you do. I have a friend. His niece and nephew were learning in Eretz Yisrael for years. And his parents supported them in a very fine style. I don't know if it was a grand style, but it was a fine style. They wanted for nothing. And after X number of years of learning, they were coming back to America. And the son-in-law decided he wanted to become a lawyer. He wanted to go to NYU. Very expensive. And the father-in-law said, listen, I can't afford NYU. If you want, you can go to a state college, or city college. I'll pay for that, but I cannot pay for NYU. And they stopped talking to him. They broke off relations with her parents because he wouldn't give him what he wanted. Okay. Astounding? Mind-boggling? To me it is. I'm sure they'll sit down with their friends and tell them how they were mistreated and how they were abused and Magili this and I didn't get that and I wasn't this, and every I shouldn't say that. There are kids who have only tales of woe, of what wasn't done, what they didn't get, in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of help, in terms of, they have a long list of bakashot. Yeah, bakoshes. I should get this, and I should get this, and I should get this, and everyone, magili. My father used to have an expression. Somebody was doing something. You need a hand? Look at the end of your arm. Everything's coming to me. It's coming to me. So this is a consideration. If I want to go and learn in seminary in Israel, do I have the finances, or do my parents have the finances to give it to me without having to make a sacrifice for the other children and for themselves? And if they can't, then you have to ask yourself whether or not it's worth the investment. That's the question. Okay. Well, I have another episode on this topic that I want to talk about next week. I don't want to say what it is yet because I'm hoping that it'll work out, but suffice it to say, I'd like to have somebody who has more of a history in this subject to be able to share some thoughts with us, but okay. In the meantime, thank you for listening. You can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com, where you can add comments about this episode, contact me directly, see my upcoming events. And if you want to sponsor an episode, you can go to RabbiOrlofsky.com/sponsor. And that's it for this week. Lichtung and Chanukah to everybody out there in podcast land. And we'll speak again next week. I'm David Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah, anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.